On the evening of May 3rd, 2010, a calm Monday in Johannesburg was shattered by an eruption of violence. Lai Jackson, the self-proclaimed king of tease, was living his characteristic fast-paced, boisterous, and unapologetically extravagant life. As a dominant figure in South Africa's adult entertainment industry, the strip club magnate seemed invincible. However, as the sun set that day, his world was irrevocably altered. Inside an ordinary house in Kempt Park, the unthinkable occurred. The king was silenced. This is the account of how South Africa's strip club overlord met his demise and why the full truth behind his death remains an unsolved puzzle. The man known to the world as the flamboyant Lai Jackson was not born with that name. He entered this world as Emmanuel dos Santos in the tumultuous heart of the Congo. His beginnings were not marked by comfort or privilege, but were forged in hardship, constant movement, and a relentless drive for a better life. His family, of Portuguese heritage, joined the exodus of migrants seeking opportunity abroad. Amid the instability of the Congo's post-colonial era in the mid-1960s, the dos Santos family relocated southward, settling in southern Johannesburg, South Africa. For young Emmanuel, this new environment was a stark contrast to the Congo's lush tropics. He was enrolled in school, but quickly proved that conventional education was not for him. Restless and frequently at odds with his teachers, he showed little interest in the prescribed path. His focus was elsewhere, on the tangible world of commerce and risk-taking, where real money was made. During these formative years, he earned the nickname Lolly from selling lollipops to other children during breaks. This seemingly innocent venture was his first taste of business, revealing an early knack for identifying a need and turning a profit. The name Lolly stuck, eventually evolving into his core identity. Formal schooling could not hold him. By grade 8, he made the decisive choice to leave, not due to inability, but from a conviction that he didn't need it. He was eager to enter the real world, make money, and build an empire on his own terms. This decision set him on a path where his destiny would be entirely of his own making. Stepping into adulthood, Lai Jackson immediately immersed himself in work. He began with hard labor on construction sites through a paving company he helped establish. This grueling work served as his business school, teaching him management, contract negotiation, and most importantly, how to sell with charm and confidence. Never one to be stagnant, his entrepreneurial spirit soon led him to open a garage for buying and selling used cars, a venture that aligned with his passion for automobiles. As his operations expanded, the boundaries of his business practices began to blur. The competitive, gritty world he operated in required pushing limits, and Lai was willing to do so. He cultivated a reputation for cutting corners and operating in ethical gray areas, gradually edging closer to the criminal underworld. Amid his relentless hustling, Lai sought stability and found it in his first wife, Sharon. For a time, their relationship provided a sense of normalcy against his chaotic ambition. The birth of their first child brought him profound joy, giving his relentless drive a deeper purpose. However, this happiness was tragically short-lived. The devastating loss of their baby left Lai shattered. The private details of the tragedy were never fully revealed, but its impact was profound, hardening him and seeding a deep distrust that happiness could last. His marriage to Sharon eventually collapsed under the weight of grief and his demanding business life.
True to his resilient nature, Louis moved on. He married again to a woman named Day and later caused a stir by marrying for a third time a much younger woman who was also his first wife's niece, also named Sharon. This unconventional union, which raised eyebrows, perfectly encapsulated the bold, unpredictable public image he had crafted. Despite his complex personal life, Lloyd never lost sight of his ambition. The dawn of South Africa's democratic era in the 1990s presented a unique opportunity. As the nation shed its conservative past, Lloyd envisioned a new kind of adult entertainment, a high-end gentleman's club with the glamour of Las Vegas. He named it Teasers. From its opening in Rivonia, Johannesburg, Teasers made an immediate impact. Lloyd spared no expense, creating a luxurious atmosphere with plush interiors, polished finishes, and state-of-the-art sound and lighting. He marketed it brilliantly, with bold billboards featuring glamorous models and clever slogans, rebranding the strip club concept as adult entertainment. He recruited international dancers, presenting them as skilled performers. By the time critics took notice, Teasers was a cultural phenomenon. Lloyd Jackson hadn't just built a business, he had built a powerful, infamous brand. His success made him a household name, and he flaunted his wealth with a flamboyance that matched his business. He was the star of his own show. But this high-profile lifestyle attracted more than just admirers. It drew the attention of rivals, criminal elements, and authorities. The South African Revenue Service, SARS, began scrutinizing his empire, suspicious of the vast cash flow and his lavish displays of wealth. Raids on his clubs and home resulted in seized assets. Lloyd fought back publicly, claiming he was being unfairly targeted, but the legal battles drained his resources and pushed him into a defensive corner. Problems also mounted within his clubs. Despite presenting himself as a paternal figure to his staff, many dancers complained of unfair fines and difficult working conditions, leading to legal disputes that tarnished his carefully built image. His volatile temper also became a public liability, with several former employees accusing him of physical assault. His aggressive tactics extended to competitors, making him numerous enemies in a fiercely competitive industry. His world was becoming increasingly chaotic and dangerous.
The immense cash generated by Teasers, combined with the pressure from SARS, led Lloyd to seek ways to move money offshore. This search brought him into contact with one of the country's most dangerous men, Radovan Krejcir, a fugitive billionaire from the Czech Republic wanted for fraud and attempted murder. Krejcir, operating from the upscale suburb of Bedford View, had built a powerful criminal network with influence reaching into the police and political spheres. Their alliance was one of mutual need. Lloyd needed to launder millions away from SARS, and Krejcir needed a steady stream of local currency. The arrangement was simple. Lloyd would deliver large sums of cash in South Africa, and Krejcir would ensure equivalent amounts were deposited into Lloyd's offshore accounts in Cyprus. This partnership, however, was built on a fragile foundation between two controlling and temperamental men. It quickly soured. Lloyd alleged that Krejcir was cheating him, with promised deposits missing or delayed. For a man who prized control, this was an intolerable betrayal. As legal fees mounted and his lifestyle grew more expensive, Lloyd became desperate to recover what he believed was stolen from him. The intermediary in this doomed partnership was George Luca, also known as George Smith, a financier who facilitated the money movement. As the dispute between Lloyd and Krejcir intensified, Luca found himself trapped in the middle of a dangerous feud. The conflict eventually centered on a specific sum of 740,000 rand, approximately $100,000 at the time. Lloyd, out of patience, began confronting Krejcir directly, a perilous move given the latter's notorious reputation for violence. On May 3, 2010, Lloyd Jackson spent his day consumed by business and the escalating tension. Fixated on retrieving his money, he told his wife, Day, he was going to meet George Luca to collect what he was owed. He drove his Jeep Grand Cherokee to Luca's modest, tree-lined house in Kemp Park,
near OR Tambo International Airport. The precise events inside that house remain shrouded in mystery. The most detailed account comes from George Luca himself, who later claimed he was used as bait to lure Loy into a trap orchestrated by Kreischer. According to Luca, not long after Loy arrived, Kreischer entered. A heated argument erupted over the money. The situation escalated until Loy, in a fury, slapped a phone out of Kreischer's hand. In response, Kreischer calmly gave an order to one of his men. Multiple gunshots rang out, and Lloyd Jackson fell to the floor, dead. Luca insisted he was forced to hold the murder weapon, making him an accomplice against his will.
As the hours passed and Loy failed to return or answer his phone, his wife Day grew anxious. Fearing the worst due to his dangerous associations, she contacted a private investigator and then General Joey Mabusa, a senior police intelligence officer Loy had previously instructed her to call in an emergency. That night, General Mabusa received a panicked call from George Luca, who confessed to getting into a fight with Loy and provided the Kempton Park address before disconnecting and vanishing. Police were dispatched to the scene. They found the house quiet, with lights on and the door unlocked. Inside, subtle signs of a struggle led them to the garage, where they discovered Loy Jackson's body, riddled with bullet wounds. The news of the strip club king's murder dominated national headlines. A manhunt for George Luca was launched, extending beyond South Africa's borders. While Luca was the prime suspect, many believed he lacked the power to act alone and that Radovan Krejci was the true mastermind behind the hit, motivated by their failed financial dealings. Luca successfully fled to Mozambique and then to his native Cyprus. An Interpol red notice was issued, and after nearly 2 years on the run, he was arrested by Cypriot police in 2012. He fiercely fought extradition, and during this time, his story changed dramatically. He retracted his initial confession, claiming instead that he was merely a witness and that Krejci was the actual murderer. He offered to testify against Krejci in exchange for witness protection. South African prosecutors, eager to finally apprehend the elusive Krejci, saw their chance. After a lengthy legal battle, Luca was extradited to South Africa in early 2014 and charged with Loy Jackson's murder. However, the pursuit of justice was cut short when George Luca died of lung cancer in 2015 before the trial could conclude. With his death, the case effectively collapsed. Officially closed, the murder of Loy Jackson remains an unresolved mystery, leaving the public with more questions than answers about who truly ordered the hit that silenced the king.